Back to the Knicks. I'm putting in our chat room right now, and I'm curious to hear if you want to call in 201-430-2119. I'm interested to know how many Knicks fans out there would like to see J.R. Smith be their starting two guard instead of Ronnie Brewer. I think Brewer's playing good. I'm not saying that there's a drama to it or anything. I'm just curious to know because J.R. Smith in this NBA is a caliber starting two guard. He does not need to be a
I
backup.
wouldn't want him, though, because he brings so much energy off of the bench, and he gets his touches. He gets his shots. He scores. He has now 5 straight games over 20 points scored, all coming off the bench.
First NBA player to ever do that.
He had 4 games in a row, the first 4 games. I know last night he put up exactly 20, but the 4 games prior to that, he put up 25 each game. You know, he brings a certain energy and a certain level off of the bench that the Knicks need in that second unit. They don't necessarily need him on the court all the time with Melo.
Well, yeah.
That's the other bigger factor of having him come off the bench is keeping him off the court with Melo because they tend to take up some of the same spaces sometimes. I like J.R. Smith in that coming off the bench role with the second unit with actually Amari coming with him. I like that unit.
What do you think of Amari so far? I mean, he's only been, 2 games?
He played 17 minutes the first game, 20 minutes last night, 10 points last night in the 20 minutes he played.
Shooting percentage is a little low.
He's still getting his legs underneath him. He's still getting back into game shape. It's going to take a little while because the guy hasn't played in a while, but...
Can I tell you one thing I saw in him, though, last night that I was impressed with?
What?
He was playing defense. He had 2 steals, a block. I was impressed. And he played, and it was physical. It wasn't like he was just out on the perimeter guarding a big guy that just passes the ball away and then, walks down to the paint. Like, he was playing physical defense where it was, I will not give you the space that I'm occupying.
Well, apparently... Mike Woodson is actually taking one-on-one time with him in practice. He is taking time to specifically stand there with Amari and show him what he's doing wrong and show him some things one-on-one rather than just standing there in a group practice and trying to coach as a group. He's literally individualizing, which is good in some ways, bad in others, but it works in this circumstance because he's showing Amari things that are going to help him.
Well, you gotta love Amari saying nobody ever taught me how to play defense. And
again, when we talked about this yesterday, I don't think it's that nobody ever taught him to play defense.
He had D'Antoni as a coach, so I believe it.
But Woodson was an assistant coach. You still had the defense in practice being taught.
Oh, I'm going back to...
Even still, coaches taught defense, but they did it in a group setting. I think it's different when you take the person and individualize them and say, listen, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to work on. Here are things to help your defensive game. And, rather than just saying as a group, well, you need to be here, you need to be, but literally taking them and saying, here's where you need to be and why you need to be here. And I think that's the difference in what Woodson teaches defensively as opposed to what a coach like D'Antoni would coach defensively. Where I think D'Antoni spends more time on the offensive end, where he'll spend more times with a guy with a ball in his hand saying, all right, well, here's what you need to do, here's where you need to look. Where Woodson does it from the opposite end. All right, well, this guy's got the ball, here's where you need to be, here's what you need to look for, watch the back door, and individualize things for Amari. And it early it seems like it could work. Like, I didn't expect them to blow the Spurs out last night. And really, for the first half, it was a back-and-forth game.
It was a great game. It was. And then the Knicks got hot and the Spurs got cold simultaneously. And the Knicks built a 17-point lead and never looked back. But I don't really think it's about how much the Knicks won by. I think it's holding a team that was averaging almost 120 in their 7-game win streak, holding that team to 83 points. I think that's the impressive part. I don't care that they won by 17 or whatever it was. You held the Spurs to 83 points. That's what you got to be. That's where, to me, the biggest moment of pride is. considering this is a team that is 5-5 in their last 10 before last night, and the Knicks were just simply letting teams score. Their defense took a dive. They were taking a break from playing defense, and they turned it back on last night. Now, look, I'll give the Spurs a little bit of a benefit of the doubt with the fact that it was their fourth game in 5 nights, so they're maybe a little tired and all that kind of crap. But either way, you held the Spurs to 83 points. That is, to me, if I'm a Knicks fan, that is what I am the most happy about. We held the Spurs to 83 points. We shut them down defensively. Tim Duncan didn't do much. Tony Parker didn't do much. Manu Ginobili didn't do much. All our guys stepped up. Melo played well. Chandler played well. Kidd played well.
Pixel's right there. Defense, well, I still go back to the old adage that offense wins games, defense wins championships. And I think that if the Knicks are going to compete with teams like the Heat come playoff time, they've got to step up defensively. And they've done it in big games and they've done it in big situations, but they got to keep it going. They got the Wizards coming up next. They play the Wizards tomorrow night. The Nets actually play the Wizards tonight, so they're getting the Wizards off of back-to-back games as well. So, should be able to handle the Wizards, keep things momentum going forward, and keep the defense up. That's the biggest thing. If they can play defense, they're going to score. They have too many talented guys on offense not to put points up.
Oh, yeah.
Between Melo, Amari, Smith, Felton. I mean, even Kidd is one of the best, become over his career, one of the best three-point shooters out there. Novak is a sharpshooter. They got guys who could put the ball in. That's not their problem. Their problem is on the defensive end. They need to keep that defensive intensity up.
Yeah.
And as long as they can do that, they're going to do well.
I mean, let's be honest. It is hard to do over a stretch of 82 games. The key is you do it in the games. You do it when it matters the most. You want to do it, consistently in the first half of the year, and then after your All-Star break, you want to make it a nightly thing, where every single night you bring the same intensity because this is your playoff push. You know what I mean?
I think once they get Felton back, which is going to be another 4 weeks, I believe, or so, 5 weeks. They're getting Shumpert back in about 2 weeks, maybe a little less than 2 weeks. And you're going to get, once you get Rasheed Wallace back as well, I mean, the Knicks are just going to be stacked.
Yeah.
And I like it. If you could put Sheed in for a few minutes to play some defense, take some fouls, do some things for you. If you could bring Shumpert in to play a little point, give Kidd a little bit of a break, especially in these next few weeks when he'll be back before Felton comes back. It'll take more pressure off of Kidd. Plus, Shumpert's a really good defender. Could really defend up the guard position really well no matter who they're playing against. I like what this team put. I've been saying it to you since before the season started. I like what this Knicks team put together this year. I do.
And I can understand why. I can. I mean, you watch, look, I've felt the same way about the Knicks for the past 2.5 years now. If the team could figure out how to play some freaking defense, they're one of the better teams in the league. And that was the one thing about that team that always bothered me. They never played defense, didn't care about playing defense. Same thing with and look, maybe it's just me. I think Mike D'Antoni is not a good head coach. Don't like him as a head coach, never have, never will. Sorry, I have an issue with a head coach that does not believe in preaching defense. I just do. I don't care what sport it is, you've got to play defense. I truly believe that. And when they made that move, I was very happy for Knicks fans, miserable as a Bulls fan, because when they got rid of D'Antoni and brought Woodson in, I was very, very impressed.